You're listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner.
This is Zoom the TBT for our last, I guess, sort of live preview or live reaction show of the season. We got a couple more shows left. Well, that's all we saw. As always, joining me, Charge of Charge Nation. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good, What an amazing game. We'll jump into it in a second, but man, alive! Just when you think the game is over, Davis Steele is there, ready to go.
That was so. It was at one point, I believe it was 71-60, or no, excuse me, it was 69-64, and I thought they were dead in the water because they had to.
Oh,
actually,
gosh!
No, it was 69. You know, 69 like 63 or something. Like they were dead.
Yeah,
they were down,
I know it was 69-64 at one point. I had to go back and watch it because I just had to relive what happened. And big man, I just can't believe he kicked it back out. I mean, he's just a brute force, and I mean, he would have gotten. He likely would have gotten fouled or made the bucket, and so I just but
I mean,
amazing game. The reality is, once it got to 69-68, I'm like, in my head, it's like, oh, Davis won. So as soon as it was 69-68, they've just done it too many times. Game after game after game, you see the same thing from Davis Steele, and insane game.
The Eberline boys, they cause heart attacks, but they win games. Their third straight Final Four, their second straight championship game, maybe they break through. Charge, let's kind of scrub the list a little bit, get some stats and some stuff to talk about, get people on board with what's happening. So first of all, let's recap how we got here. We are to the final. The final will be Sunday, 1 p.m. on Fox. Charge, I believe we're going to be doing our pregame at noon. That's the plan, right?
I believe so, yes. If it's on the calendar, I'll be there.
Okay, so make sure if you enjoy our content, we're going to have one last live show, and that will be Sunday at noon Eastern as we preview live the final. So we'll do a little bit of that tonight, but we're going to do the full preview on Sunday at noon, excuse me. Okay, so Davis Steele beats War Ready. Mecca upsets Heartfire in a wonderful game. I was there through those games, an electric atmosphere. All credit to the M Resorts. They were fantastic this entire time. That's a beautiful place to watch a game. I hope TBT goes back to Vegas. I think the M Resorts, if they go back there, would be a wonderful place to have it again. I mean, everything was first rate. The hotel's wonderful. Great venue. Games were awesome. Wasn't had to make the final because Charge and I both work for a living. Had to get back to my actual office. So this was a TV coverage game. Davis played the Mecca tonight. We'll talk about that a little bit. On the other side, we have Aftershocks versus Jayhawks Hoops. They went down in a big upset. Not big upset, slight upset. We'll talk a little bit about that. And La Familia beat an underhand Bayham's Army. And, of course, the disaster class of Wednesday, which was at one point, I believe, a 20-something point game, which was not really quite the final we had all hoped for. So, Charge, first of all, do you feel good of how we got here? Like, what do you think about the format and how we got to this eventuality?
Yeah, I thought the format worked really, really well. Just the alumni side was ultra competitive, great game. Like I said, he had a blowout here or there, but I think for the most part, those all lived up to the billing. And then you called Mecca beating Heartfire an upset, but I mean the reality is that mercenary group. Anyone could beat anyone. The K crew got a win out there, and so it just shows.
I said slight upset. I said slight upset, to be fair. Slight.
Yeah, but it's Casper Ware to Mecca, but then not enough to beat Davis Steele, of course. But yeah, I mean that was just crazy, and I love the pool play, so I'm glad it wasn't a 2 out of 3 against just two random Merc teams, and I think everything flowed really nicely, and the banter online. I think the tournament got great publicity. They got people that hated the format, but at the end of the day, people are tuning in and watching the TBT. We got schools already talking about hopping in next year, so that speaks for it.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
let's talk about that briefly. So we both tweeted at the person. Who was it? Just tell them.
The St. John's team will look to get in next year. So you got Phil Green, D'Angelo Harrison talking like, yeah, we got to do this. So there you go. You already got a little core going on, and they do have a core of people that would be great for the TBT.
One of your favorites.
Yeah, Don Pointer, 100% better be on that team. And first person I thought of, we had him on the show many years back, but Tom from the Next Prospect, he tried to get a St. John's team in years ago. There just wasn't a whole lot of interest. So hopefully they'll loop him in and get him involved, because I think he would do a great job helping build that team and the logistics, because the guys, they just want to play and get it done, so they'll need someone inside to do that.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about it a little bit. First of all, so I'm based in New York. You're based in Minneapolis. So we would love to have St. John's here. Make my coverage easy. I'd have a series, a Subway series, literally for me, because I'm thinking what we do next year for TBT. Just spitballing here. I was talking to John Mugart at TBT in Vegas. Had a good conversation with him, with John, about what they're thinking about doing next year. Won't really talk about that now because I don't want to divulge anything yet until we can really confirm some things. But one thing I'd like to see is we talk about growing the tournament and maybe making it unbalanced, like making the alumni team side bigger and the Merc side keeping to the 6 to 8 because they paid. They can play one less win. That's fair. I mean, if you're paying, 5-6 figures to get in, maybe you only have to win 5 games. The alums have an extra game, and if they complain, you didn't pay. Shut up, right? So let's talk about 16 teams. Let's double it. So we got the ones we got. Let's bring in a St. John's charge. Who else are you looking at? I'm thinking we bring back UConn and then Syracuse and UConn. So St. John's and Seton Hall come back. So you literally have the old Big East right there. And then you have Syracuse and UConn. So you have 4 teams there. Do we bring Illinois back to partner with the Kentucky schools? Get Marquette back in the loop? Like how do you find partners for Kentucky and Louisville?
Yeah, I mean, you still got Indiana and Butler up this way. I think that's you get a good regional. Dayton versus Carmen's Crew is still kind of a nice one. But, yeah, I mean, Wisconsin, Marquette, Illinois, all teams had played in some form or fashion before. So I think the appeal is there. It's just a matter of, and you saw that with Isaiah Whitehead with the Seton Hall team. He was a player, and he pretty much willed that team into existence. And so hopefully you get a couple teams like the St. John's guys where they just want to play. They've already expressed interest in playing. So and we know TBT people are organizing this year round. So I think you just got to find a couple of those kind of guys that just want to play and make it happen.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting because I saw that 2 people said follow us back to a DM. One was our account, which I run, the ZoomTheTBT account, which I'm the admin for, and also Jake Pavowski, who runs the TBT's outreach. So we both said, hey, follow us back so we can DM you. Because if any team who wants to get in is listening to us, please contact us. We're going to try to do a little bit more content next year. So we'll start the interviews early and try to get you guys some buzz. So always set me in charge up. We'd like to have guests and talk about where these teams can go. Okay, that's enough pimping next year. Let's talk about this year a little bit. So what we just saw last night, let's get to tonight. Let's just talk about this a little bit. So Charge, this game was functionally insane. Like, Steele had this under control. The Everline boys had a team that was spread arrested. It was consistently the first half, double digits. And then what started to happen is they got closer and closer, and your boy Casper Ware just kept pulling them back into it. And Charge, how did they come back? Was it just a force of will thing?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, you're going to have to carry the front part of it because I wasn't home. I had an appointment tonight and ran a couple errands. Like I said, it was down 11. Casper Ware had 0. And as soon as I walked in the door, another guy messaged me. It's like, oh, my gosh, Mac is coming back. I'm like, all right, let me go see. I'm like, all right, they're coming back 5-6 points, but it was within 1 point. But, I mean, that's just the thing. Cheaters have always, or Mecca, same thing, Upperline Davis. We'll still use their old names here.
As we deem fit. As we deem fit.
We'll call you close to your name. But, yeah, I mean, they got that Cheaters brand who's just always been, kind of real smash mouth, tough basketball. And, so I can't speak to the specifics. But I'm not surprised just because of, who they are. They're professionals and, they'll make the adjustments. But, Casper Ware looks like he went from 0 points to 18 points in, short order. So it was, I'm sure he had a big role in that.
Yeah, looking at these stats too, like looking at the game, first of all, the ebb and flow is incredible because there's a lot of one thing that the Mecca did really well is they didn't get a lot of open looks. Like Davis shot a lot of threes, and they made a lot. They still made 44%, but they were actually some tough attempts. They got in Gabe York's jersey. They forced him to work. He still had a pretty solid game by his standards, but still not quite the level of shooting you'd expect despite shooting 44%. They actually shot better from outside the arc than they did inside the arc. They didn't get a lot of clean looks at the rim. Whereas you're looking at this, what really killed the Mecca is going 6 from 15 at the free throw line is not going to win you many games. If they shoot even a few more of those, this game they fully come back in. Like, they kind of died at the line. But one thing also strikes out is, look at that 32 points in the paint to 18. Like, they were consistently getting to the basket, whether it be Ware driving, whether it was one of the other players driving, whether it was one of their bigs getting a rebound. Like, they really physically imposed their will. And that did show a weakness in Steele, because even though Davis Steele's a really good team and possibly going to win this whole thing, they did get a little bit of out-toughed in the second half. Is that a concern going forward, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, and that was what I was talking about, the surprise that the big man kicked it out a couple of possessions before that. Watson just had to tie him up. I mean, he was just too much to handle. And, the numbers here, like I said, 32 to 18 is huge. And for him to not make a move there was something. And two very different players, though, if we're just talking about the big man, Willie Cauley-Stein, I think he'll be big. They're going to have to stop him, but he's obviously not as physical as like a Carter is, and so
he's long. He's not a load. He's a long guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they'll be all right. They'll match up all right against Willie Cauley-Stein. But I mean, once again, they may want to test the waters inside early and see where it takes them.
Absolutely. But I think Mecca did a really good job of running guys off the 3-point line, forcing tough looks. I mean, they still shot 44%, which is a great percentage. But like, even that's a testament how well they can shoot. Those were still some really tough shots. But yeah, you just can't shoot 40% from the line and win against a team like Davis. But they made it really close. Mecca made a hell of a comeback and deserves a lot of respect. Because talking a little bit about your winners here, first of all, pretty balanced attack. Like York still went for 16, and he did it on 9 shots. That's pretty efficient, obviously. And one thing that's impressed me, Rodman with 13 off the bench. Rodman hadn't had the best TBT to this point, really. But he looked to get fouled, looked to create contact. He got a lot of free throws off jumpers. He shot a team high 8 shots at the free throw line, making 7. And he got fouled a lot on motion on jump shots and provided a really good spark off the bench, giving them a third option in this game. And what do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like he was able to really come on with those foul shots?
Yeah, like I said, without seeing that, how he got to the free throw line, but I mean, he was, obviously, big in a couple of the other games, making contributions. So they're comfortable playing anybody who's on this roster, and that's what makes these guys extremely dangerous. Is you had McGriff step up and play some really big games, not as much of an impact today. Reese, was all TBT, and so these guys are just deep, and so no surprise. A guy like Rodman, given the opportunity, they'll trust anyone on this team.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very deep team. I mean, and that talks about the relative strength weaknesses of the teams going left. The alumni teams were all thinner, and Davis Steele brings a guy off the bench like a Reese. He's only scoring like 2 or 3 points a game, but he's capable of 20. So you have a steady hand with him, Brown. They can come in, do what they have to do off the bench, control the offense, and still not be forced to have to score and let York and Clemens do a lot of the scoring. Did you catch the typo at the leadoff where they forgot the N in Anthony Clemens? It wasn't a big deal. I thought it was funny. It was Anthony. They missed an N. I was going to say something, but I'm not that much of a jackass.
Where in the stats itself?
No, on the telecast they had.
I would just say because the Vegas stats people, they misspelled so many things. It was a pain in the butt trying to line up names to.
But
rosters.
The minutes work. They don't necessarily.
Yeah, they still haven't fixed that game as of a day or two ago. Like, come on, just fix your stats. Let's go.
Let's talk a little bit about
Brandon Moss. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, he was big 3-ing, but I don't know if he was in Vegas and just not playing until the last 2 games. But obviously, he was very impactful in both games for the MAC. Obviously, fell short today, but that was difference maker for those guys against Heartfire for sure.
Yeah, and honestly, like watching this game, I mean, just Terrell Carter was actually, the stat line doesn't show it. It only shows 8 boards and 7 points. But the 6 blocks, I mean, he closed out in 3-point shooters. He had multiple blocks at the top of the key on closeouts, which is something you don't see out of a power forward center type very often. So that was amazing coverage. Like, Mecca came to play. They didn't win Vegas, but they earned a hell of a lot of respect. They were physical. They played together. They played to their ethos. They played about what they are. They were very comfortable in their own skin, which is a weapon in TBT. Like, they really knew what they were doing. And I thought that was just really impressive. He's done now. Does Casper Ware get all TBT consideration?
Maybe, yeah. No, that one's. I think it's just going to come down to this last game because, as we know, Archie Goodwin's already locked in.
We'll get into him. We'll get into him in a minute. Yeah, we'll talk about Goodwin in a minute.
Yeah, it is. I don't think so. I don't think he's going to make it. I think they'll go a different direction, a little more alumni heavy with some of those.
I will say this. I think it gets consideration if this were positionless, if it didn't matter who was a guard and who was a forward, because I think that will matter. Because they want to have at least two bigs and only 3 backcourt guys. It might be tough to squeeze Weir in. because you have guys like Mayo and other guys who get consideration. But at the same time, he has to at least get a shout out. He played an incredible Vegas.
Yeah.
I can see. I haven't seen him live. I can see why you're a fan. I can see why you're a fan too. I haven't watched him live. I can totally see it now.
Yeah, he had a solid TBT.
Yeah. So, any last words for the Mecca? They played really hard. They're in a lot of respect. Hopefully, they come back next year just as strong.
I think they probably, tasted a little bit of that. So close, kind of what Davis has felt all these years. So I'm assuming they'll be back, all things considered.
Yeah, definitely. I would think they would too. Okay, so the alumni final. I'll talk about this briefly as a recap. We don't have to spend too long here because I don't know if you watched this game. I was in the air, so I watched like the second half.
Yeah, I ended up watching most of this one. Yeah, so it just got away in a hurry.
Let's just scrub the bad stuff. Let's just sort of get the bad stuff out of the way here. 30% from the field, 17% from three. You're not going to win any games with a 30-17 split. There's just no way.
Yeah, and I think some of this too is just some of the travel expectations
Yeah.
for these teams is brutal. We saw that with Davis Steele. Well, actually, we call him line last year. There's just so much travel and things they have to go in. And these guys are professionals, and they're bussing from I don't know where, Wichita. I guess was their last game.
Day of.
Straight through the night to play that night, and those guys, like I said, they played a lot of games, and I mean, they weren't deep. They were worn down, and so I still think regardless, La Familia was the better team, wins the game, but you never know in a one game, when they're going home. But that is just tough to just hop on a bus and drive through the night just to get there for the game that evening. So I think that's the one piece, and that I think this format with playing at the alumni, and rightfully so, they need the box office, but it's been tough both years they've done it this way. That it was just a lot on the teams, and it just be nice to figure that out, but I don't know how you do that. They've got to keep the games going. They got to keep the tournament moving, but there's got to be a way you can get the guys a little rest.
I do wonder if the best way to do that too is my cat keeps trying to get a shot. This is a very good boy. He's a very big TBT fan, and he's going to now sit over here. The content of this, basically, the driving was nuts. They were here. Basically, I think they got there the day of the game, right? It was like
they got there like 6 a.m. So they bust overnight. Got there 6 a.m. Had the practice at I think 10 or 11. I can't remember what they said on the broadcast. Went to sleep, ate a little bit, and got to the game. So it's just
insane.
Wild.
Just not a conducive way to win a professional basketball game. I don't think.
Yeah.
So it is interesting because like the short turnaround, that's tough, but also like they have to kind of figure that out. How much is Syracuse kicking themselves right now for not beating La Familia? Because they would probably be playing for this now.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself. All my fantasy games were revolving around Boeheim's Army, and they just needed one of those two guys. And I haven't researched it lately, but Chris McCullough was playing with Bayamon, had a nice game yesterday or the day before, but Ja'Cory just sitting there and holding pattern, wearing his Vaqueros shirt while Boeheim's is running with 6-7 guys. They just needed that one guy.
The Puerto Rican League wages war and TBT again every year. Someone has to play.
Yes.
I won't say who, but I've always heard a rumor there was a player who badly wanted his team to lose the PR so he could play in this because he get paid either way. And I remember a couple of years ago, somebody was like, he didn't throw it or anything, but like let's put it this way, he wasn't heartbroken when the PR got thrown out.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, my team's gone. That's a damn shame.
I'm gone. I'm in. Yeah. It's that was just bizarre. That we won't bog down this show, but just unraveling that. It'd be great to get some of
the DR stuff.
Inside scoop on what went down.
Well, yeah, it's just weird. But obviously, they had two really high quality 4-5 players. And they're both trapped on the same team. It's just kind of you can't even write this stuff.
What are the odds? All the people that Bayamon could call to fill this role, and
they're both tied to it. Yeah, it's just nuts. Okay, let's talk a little bit about La Familia's score from that game. Let's talk about your boy Archie Goodwin. Now we're here. I mean, I still think if Davis Steele wins, Gabe York has an outside shot at the MVP because they would win.
Well, you're changing your tune now. You're saying outside shot. You were all like, hey, Davis wins, it's Gabe
No,
York.
fair.
But
I
my logic is, I mean, zero doubt in anyone's mind that Archie Goodwin was the most impactful, critical player link for La Familia or any team in the TBT. No one's
the
going to be
word valuable means he's the most valuable. It does work.
Yeah, and so I think
100%. Yeah.
In a rare, someone loses and gets the MVP, I just unless Goodwin goes for like 0 points in the next game. All right, so we're going to assume Goodwin's going to have a decent game. It's going to be a close game. I can't see this being a blowout, but it's going to be a good close game. Goodwin and York are both going to go at it. You have to give it to Goodwin. I mean, this was just that Louisville game. I mean, they ripped their souls out. I thought there was zero chance La Familia was even going to get out of that round until Goodwin's like, "Hey, I'm here." He was home spending time with family, which is fantastic, but decided to show up and play. And that moment on, it was over. La Familia changed their trajectory, and would they have beat Louisville? Maybe, but then would they have won? The next round against Bayheim without Goodwin? No. And so, there's
no chance.
No way they advance or do anything close to what they're doing if Goodwin didn't show up.
Yeah, I think Goodwin, the only way Goodwin isn't one of the two people considered, it would be him and probably York. That's kind of the race now.
Yeah, no,
and
for
sure. I would say the only way Goodwin doesn't win it is if Familia gets blown out or he has a complete stinker. Or Gabe York just goes nuclear and just outplays him so badly to follow, even if he has a good game. Or he misses a million free throws because he has been terrible from the line. That's the thing that's interesting is he has missed so many, he's done everything right and he keeps clanking free throws, which is kind of amazing because he's a good free throw shooter. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. Everything else is tight as hell and he's not making free throws. But that's not even the biggest story. Charge, what's the biggest story about Archie Goodwin playing Davis Steele?
Yeah, so obviously this has some history with Archie. Used to play for Davis Steele back in the day, but they played last year against each other, and so there's a lot of history. And Davis Steele picked him to go to the line last year, which his percentage is fairly high. We know he's missing some free throws, as we talked about, but so it's just one of these kind of TBT storylines that's kind of under the radar, but pretty cool to watch if you followed this throughout the years. And so I think this one's going to be really interesting. So Davis was on top last year, La Familia getting another chance. Archie's getting another chance. It's almost like one of those Disney movies where it's like, can La Familia be stopped? Is this the year that they get over the hump themselves?
Yeah, I think what's interesting too about this, we'll get into the matchup a little bit too, but it kind of almost looks like scoring wise, not the little stuff, but scoring wise, this is a pretty one-man show right now. And we'll get into that a little bit when we do the full preview. But there's other people who can contribute. I know your boy McNeil is hitting threes. I know you're real happy about that.
Oh, yeah. No, he's taking care of his business. So, yeah, for sure. But, if you watch that game the other night, though, dang, Chris Coffey went crazy. Not just on the points. 9. You see it's, pretty much Goodwin. But, man alive, he was good. And all right, I'll save some for the matchup, but
we'll do the matchup in a minute. Yeah, let's say some nice words about the vanquished. The lesson here is don't take a bus the day of the game for multiple hours because 20 of 70. I think La Familia was the better team either way. I think Syracuse versus Kentucky was the de facto alumni championship. I really do believe that, but they're not this much worse. I think this is a travel thing. Also, they had to play a lot of guys big minutes the game before due to whatever we're going to call the multiple fights that happened. We don't want to get into that because it's kind of negative. We don't want to talk about it was a fairly negative experience, I think, for a lot of teams. But they only had 6 guys to play. So they were tired from a short bench in a very grueling physical game. And they drove through the night from Kansas to Kentucky. That's not anybody's chance of a good idea. So 4-16, 4-14, 4-14. Your big guns are shooting 12 of 44. You can't win a game if your big guns are shooting that way. You can't. It's not even possible. And it sucks, too, because they're a better team than this, right, Charge? They actually are a better team than that, I would assume.
Yeah, and I think some of it too is that Kentucky defense wore them down more than I'm sure they imagined. They're not very deep, so you look after they're starting five. You got three guys playing minutes, and so one of them's a 40-year-old Chalmers, and so yeah, they just didn't really have much behind them, and I think you get both these teams kind of fully rested and. It could be a different story, but yeah, it's just that was a lot to ask of this team. And, guys like Mason, Hannah, Mayo, and Preston kind of contributed throughout the entire TBT. Just ran into, the tank was empty and nowhere else to go with it.
The tank was empty. Charge, talk about the all TBT. We'll do all TBT after the season. We'll do a couple more shows. We'll do a championship preview. We'll do a recap of the season. Is Zeke Mayo still in the conversation for all TBT despite this kind of crash out?
Probably since they lost, no, because if you're TBT, you're picking Frank Mason over Zeke Mayo, so it don't matter. I think Zeke Mayo, stats wise, was the stronger player, probably fantasy points, scored more once I kind of get those updated. But Frank Mason hit, Elam Ender after Elam Ender, clutch games against Purple Rain, hit the big one against Wichita. Still good, contribution. So it wasn't like he wasn't playing, poorly, but it wasn't, typical Frank Mason, just kind of, leading the way. Came on in the clutch when he needed to. But I think someone on JHX Hoops definitely makes the all TBT. But I think
probably Mason.
I think they'll pick the name over, the top scorer. I could be wrong, but we shall see.
So let's say, and we'll talk about all TBT after the season. But briefly, just talking about this briefly, what are we thinking? We're thinking Mason, Goodwin, and York for sure. Who else am I missing? That's a pretty sure bet.
Yeah, going back to Mecca, it's a little harder now after this game, and the reason I said no to Casper is because I was kind of locked into Marvell Harris. Just because of his performance
makes sense.
Earlier on and his kind of impact in the Elam ending. Casper Ware probably ends up there now after all's said and done. I still got some concerns they're going to do something and maybe look at a different alumni player just to kind of build that alumni buzz up a little bit more. But, it'd probably be Casper after.
Have we gotten to the point that first of all, have we gotten to the point where we should start discussing a second team too, or is that just too much for a short event? First team's enough, right?
Yeah, well, with the limited teams too, I think one team's plenty good. A full roster, yeah. I think there's always those snubs and who was left off, but I think there's plenty good for this one.
Yeah, and also I think coach of the year so far, John Hood, because you got this team that's kind of limited.
Oh yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think
that's and GM of the year, we're thinking it's the Eberline boys again. There's no way around that as well, correct?
I would agree with that as well. Yeah.
So last thing,
TBT's historically like to share the love, but I think if they win that championship, then you have to point there.
Yeah. Also, one other thing about it. TBT, I think, historically is usually positionless with their all team, right? So having four guards isn't a problem. But we're going to even get one big on this roster because most of these teams the bigs are secondary. The guards are really running this tournament.
Yeah, the guard play has always been kind of the key to TBT, but it seems like nowadays everyone's just going smaller and smaller, and that's where Davis really relied on that. This year, when you looked at the
four guards in a wing, they closed out four guards in a wing. Yeah,
everything when they signed was all guards for the most part.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the final and get you to bed. Okay, so we got the final. It's going to be a Sunday, and again, Charge. We're going to do this right pre-game, live, same format as this with better stats, better prep. This is just a reaction show. Do that at 1. We're going to do that at noon on Sunday Eastern time. So please join us. We'll have some fun with that. Okay, looking at this again. Archie, and the minutes are obviously a little whacked. We take our stats off the website. Thanks, by the way, even though the minutes are whacked, big shout out to the people at TBT for making these stats really easy to clip. They've done a wonderful job making them searchable, as usual. The media hub for people who cover this is as always really strong. And even though we didn't have formal media access in Las Vegas, it was still a very first-rate event. So there was no complaints about this. Having said that, the minutes are wrong. Archie Goodwin's not playing 67 minutes a game. Let's be very clear about that. One thing about that too, Charge, even though he's only played 3 games due to impact, not a concern for all TBT, right? There's no minimum games requirement.
No, that just speaks more volumes as to how good he was.
Yeah, but I mean, besides Goodwin and Marcel, this is a pretty limited attack. Like if Goodwin throws up a bad game, they're done, right? They're completely toast.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I mean, Marcel can score. Harrison can score. You can get, scoring a little bit up and down. I think the thing here that we saw against Kansas, and, hopefully it wasn't just a worn-out Kansas, because I'd like to see a great matchup, is, defensively, they played some really good ball led by Chris Coffey. And so
that's true. Coffey's a player.
Yeah, and then like you find a TBT, you need a couple, lead horses and get some good support. You mentioned Sean McNeil earlier. I mean, when the game was close early on, he hit a couple threes, nice layup, and so yeah, I think it's just this one's gonna be tight as can be. I would be shocked if it wasn't another kind of 2 or 3 point game coming down to the next bucket wins again.
Sure. Goodwin's a really good downhill player though too. So his physicality, I mean, you don't put York on him. You're gonna put Clements on him, right? That's the cover, right? You don't put York.
Yeah.
On him. You're gonna put Clements on him. Yeah. You're not gonna waste York's legs trying to cover the bowling ball that is Goodwin. Do you think that even though they know him pretty well, do you think the Eberline drive, the Davis Steele brain trust will be able to help scheme a little because they know him so well?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, everyone playing in this tournament kind of knows his strengths, watch the film and, take care of it. But they may have a little better idea on some of his tendencies. But I think it's just he's been that good this year.
Absolutely. He's been incredible. He's been able to shoot threes and go downhill. He's been a true, multiple level scorer, 3-level scorer. And you don't see that in TBT. A guy can put it on deck, get physical, and then also shoot deep. He's been a revelation in this tournament. So he's been incredible. And yeah, I mean, Coffey, McNeil, Maynard Bell, these guys can all come off and actually still get their points off. So maybe if Goodwin isn't as good and they support a little better, they still have a chance. But they're going to go as Goodwin goes, I think, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, talking a little bit about Davis quickly. Again, we'll do a full preview. It's just brushing it over. I mean, Gabe York's been incredible. They have a slightly more balanced attack. I mean, they're mostly using New York, but Clemens, he came in late because he wasn't available for pool play. He's been a real revelation. He's always really good. They have an all TBT level backcourt. I'm surprised James Reese isn't scoring a lot, but I mean, they don't need him to. They need him to just be a steady hand. He's come in and just sort of organized the offense and calmed things down. Robin's been contributing the last couple games. Terry Taylor's been wonderful. They went really small with Taylor playing basically the one big and 4 wings or guards late in their semifinal game. So does their positional versatility and their depth give them a slight edge depth-wise against La Familia?
Yeah, they're definitely way deeper, and the Clemens thing was kind of wild because he was originally out because he had some prior commitments, and then it's like, well, hey, I can make it after a couple games, and it would have been very easy for him to take the summer off and not play in TBT, but it just kind of shows some of the bonding and the family. The Eberline's been together for a few years, or a lot of years, but this core of players for a few years now, and for him to show up, hit that big shot today to kind of put him within reach, and the depth here, like I said, I mean, you can throw Pedro Bradshaw up there, Terrell Brown, James Reese, Gravette. I mean, it's just insane how deep these guys are, and that's probably going to be a big difference maker versus Kentucky.
So they had a little bit of trouble with Joel Carter in this game at the end. He was so physical. He's actually Watson, who's a really good player, was having a little bit of trouble keeping him from getting deeper into the post position. I don't think Kentucky has a post player like that. I mean, Coffey can score, but he's not like that kind of bowling ball. But Willie Cauley-Stein presents a completely different problem. It's almost like a blade. So how does that matchup change the bigs, you think? Are they gonna have a little bit of a hard time navigating the shot blocking possibly? I mean, how are they going to get him involved where he's not just a complete menace?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. I mean, a few times early in the game yesterday, they did try to go to Cauley-Stein early. Kansas didn't have any, giant bigs on their team, and so they did try to kind of go there a little bit. And got off to a pretty decent start. Didn't need to play him a lot, which was good because he's been hurt. But I said it earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't test the waters down there, see kind of what that matchup looks like, and how he does.
I wonder if they get him in foul trouble too, because I mean, without him, they don't have a real shot blocking threat the same way as some other players do. Okay, Charge. This has been a lot of fun. Let's do a few final thoughts. Now we're gonna do a full preview show, so we're gonna have to kind of do the whole thing tonight. But like, Davis to me is the better team, not by a lot. I think La Familia is really high quality, and they're definitely the deeper team and maybe the more youthful team, I would say. But I mean, home court matters. They're going to be playing not just La Familia, but 7,000 crazy Kentuckies who probably be drinking bourbon in the morning waiting for this game. I mean, does the crowd make this kind of a pick-em?
Yeah, I think it does. I was reading on X a little bit. People were saying that arena is just as loud as Rupp, just the way it's designed, the size, the atmosphere. It is loud in there, and so I
was the same place as last year.
Yeah.
So I've been there. It's a really nice arena.
Yeah, no, I didn't make it there in the last couple of years, but people are saying it's loud, and like I said, I think you're gonna have a sellout. It's a Sunday at 1. I can't imagine this game
goes straight from church
selling out. But this is kind of a home game for Davis Steel. Davis Steel's I don't know how far outside of Lexington they are. They're kind of south, and I've never heard of the town before. I looked it up earlier, between Lexington and Louisville for the most part. So yeah, you'll have a little bit of a home vibe for Davis Steel. They'll be glad to be close to home. But yeah, obviously this is a Kentucky crowd, and it's going to play a big part, especially the early minutes at momentum in quarter 1. If Kentucky gets after it as hard defensively as they did against Kansas, they get a little bit of traction. It could be a really tough environment. So I think they're going to have to come out quick and just really kind of take a couple swings early and see where it takes them.
Definitely. Charge, we'll do real picks, so we can change them later. But I'm thinking Davis in a really tight one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the depth of Davis is, just going to be a little too much for Kentucky. And it's one of those ones. But to your point, it's going to be. I would be shocked if this wasn't the next bucket wins. Davis has been going for so long in the tournament. I think this has to be their year. I just hate that it's like, you play the same team, and La Familia lost last year, so is it their time to win? And I think Eberline beat them in Philadelphia too, did they, or no? I'd have to go back and look. But I
think they lost to Houston. Because I think
they lost to Houston. You're right.
Carmen's. I was there for that too. The Phillies.
We were there.
It was Carmen's over. It was Carmen's over. Come on, Hainer.
Or was it over? They didn't play.
Carmen's over La Familia. Carmen's over La Familia. Houston over Eberline. I think it's been.
Yeah. So these teams got some history. Eberline's kind of been right in the mix, but yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see. Is it just both of them have a good case if you're looking on just destiny that they've been so close. Someone has to get over the hump this year, and so we'll have a new look. Winner.
Charge. I'll see you at noon on Sunday as we preview the final. One more game. TBT's almost done. It comes, it arrives, it goes, it's gone. Yep. All right. La Familia Davis, 1 p.m. Eastern, Sunday. Charge Hainer, noon Eastern, Sunday, right here. Charge, always a pleasure, man.
All right. Have a good night, man.
See ya, man.
Hope you enjoyed listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hainer. Subscribe to YouTube, follow on Twitter, and give us your money.